Hello and welcome to Wednesday Night Standard here at GameSwap in chilly Mason, Ohio.
Yes.
I am Jason Morgan here with my friend Zach West.
Hi there.
Coverage virgin, losing his innocence on stream for your viewing pleasure tonight.
That is a fantastic way of putting it, I suppose.
So on the left we have Robert Meadows on Temur Energy.
Yes.
And on the right we have Zach Romer on Ramunap Red.
Yes.
Interestingly, Robert usually does commentary with me on Wednesday nights and has instead opted to play tonight and co-opted your deck.
Yes, absolutely. Interestingly, Robert has no standard experience with this type of play.
Yeah. So really, the reason that we put him on camera was so we could make fun of him. That's what we're going to do.
Yes.
So everybody out there in internet land that's watching, feel free to just rip them apart in chat.
So we would love to give him a deck that would be simple to play, something where their lines and decision making is, you mean
like Ramunap Red?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But instead we give him something where he can easily miss triggers. Or
yeah, for sure. Yes. Hand looks decent.
I think I saw a Spire Bluff and a Botanical Sanctum.
And I think 2 Attune?
Yep. A Servant of the Conduit and
a red card. Probably a Lightning.
A Harness Lightning, yeah. And looks like a Whirler Virtuoso, so...
Oh, well, if he's got a Whirler Virtuoso in there, this is about as good as you could ask for.
Absolutely.
Against red.
Absolutely.
Being on the play.
So, looks as if Zach has a Village Messenger and the usual burn package that comes with Ramunap Red. Okay,
so Messenger, if I'm Robert, signals to me, if I'm Robert and I actually follow the standard format, which we don't. And why is that island in there? Yeah, okay, there we go.
Okay.
That signals to me that Zach is on the lower to the ground version of Ramunap. This version, I think, sees more, like, you're not going to see main deck Chandra, that sort of thing. More of a 22 land build instead of the 24.
Yes. Glory Bringers in the side as opposed to in the main.
Yeah, and lands in the side as well. Because
Yes.
when you up your curve after side, you gotta bring those in. Usually Scavenger Grounds.
Now, a little bit of a misstep from Robert here. He should have played that Spire Buff Canal on turn 2.
Yep.
Just on the off chance that he does draw any number of Botanical Sanctums or Spire Buff Canals.
Right, exactly.
So.
Yep, just a little thing like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
And punished.
And then he draws
yeah.
I mean, thankfully he's got that Spire Bluff Canal otherwise.
Right.
But he's still going to be off a little bit for his next few turns with some lands coming into play tap and a little bit of a mis-sequencing with that.
Exactly. See, and those are the little edges that experienced players of Temur Energy like you and myself we over time we've picked up on those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Somebody playing the deck for the very first time.
Yeah.
Not a surprise. Yeah, and immediately punished too.
Exactly.
To further reinforce our point.
Zach taking a look at the Whirler Virtuoso here and probably just wanting to sweep those Village Messengers to the side, as they are. This is about as bad as they get, this type of matchup.
Oh yeah. I think the smart play from right now, Village Messenger just has haste, right? It doesn't have menace.
No.
I'm not familiar with these red creatures.
When it flips, I believe it has menace.
Okay.
When it becomes a 2/2, it has menace. But as of right now, it's just a 1/1 with haste.
Okay.
Robert's going to make 2 tokens, and he's going to kill both the messengers.
Playing like he actually knows what he's doing. Give him time. Give him time.
So, Magma Spray off the top.
Wow.
How do I show exerted on camera?
I believe Robert has that Attune, Harness Lightning, Botanical Sanctum, Magma Spray in his hand.
Zach asking how does he demonstrate exerted on camera. I suggest taking the card out of the sleeve and ripping it in half.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if Robert gets in here with that Whirl of Virtuoso, or if he just feels as if he needs to stay back now.
And
he needs to grab a second red right there.
Exactly. Yep. So priority number 1 with Temur Energy, 1 green.
Yes.
Priority number 2, 2 red and 1 blue.
Yep.
About equal.
Yes. Now, he already had double green, so he's able to play a Bristling Hydra if he gets that off the top. But right now, if he plays a Glorybringer, Zach is going to have to spend either 2 cards on that or just allow it to kind of rampage through his team.
Yeah.
But without a second red source, Robert's a little bit behind on that.
Yep. Yeah, and hopefully he draws Glorybringer here. just for maximum punishment.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm Robert, I'm firing off that Magma Spray on that Earthshaker Kenra right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, post-board, this matchup gets a little weird with Ramunap Red. When you're sideboarding with energy, you're not sure whether they're going towards the mid-range plan, like bigger with Chandras and Glorybringers. But game 1, you know pretty much what you're going to get yourself into.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if the players that have more experience with Ramunap Red are letting the play draw dictate their sideboard plan.
Yeah.
You know, if they lose game 1 and they're on the play, they stay with the small plan.
Yeah.
And anytime they're on the draw, they go bigger.
Yeah. Now, Temur Energy tends to sideboard into usually 1 to 2 Radiant Flames, and they will do Confiscation Coup.
You bring in the Radiant Flames, huh?
I'll bring in 1 on the draw.
Interesting.
And then, because I know that they stick to this type of plan generally, and then, okay, so it was an Abrade, not a Harness Lightning that Robert had.
Glorybringer. So we play that Sheltered Thicket.
Yeah.
He's gonna cycle it. Watch him. Nope. There we go.
No.
Proves me wrong. Another Whirler Virtuoso, and honestly, Whirler Virtuoso is the best card you can have in this matchup.
Absolutely.
And before Ramunap Red, before the Pro Tour, when I had a good run at the Open with Temur Energy, 1 Virtuoso in the deck. 1 in the 75.
No, there was no mono red there at the Open, hardly at all. I think there was like a couple decks that we saw, but
Jonathan Job,
and
his playtest team did come up with a pretty sick version that was the predecessor to the current version of Red. They correctly identified the deserts as excellent cards to have in a red deck.
Yes.
They were, however, trying to take advantage of the fact that they could reliably produce colorless and played more Eldrazi and went a little bit bigger.
Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that 4-color control deck won that Open.
That is correct.
Yeah, early in the season, and that's absolutely how you can tell that there was no mono red.
Indeed. Well, yeah, and I tell you what, if the pairings had broken a little bit differently in the top 8, I really would have liked to have played against that guy. I like my matchup quite a bit with Temur Energy against blue-based control decks.
Yes. Now, for those of you out there that don't know, usually Temur Energy plays 4 negates in the board. Sometimes they'll play a Dispel. So you'll really just play like an early Cub or an early Threat, and then hold up Counter Magic, and it makes the game a lot more difficult for these types of blue-based control decks.
You can also set up really big turns where you force them into a position where they need to resolve something like an Hour of Devastation. And even if they have the additional counter magic for your negate, you make their hour cost an additional 2 to 3 mana, usually tapping them out or tapping them very, very low. And then you follow that up with something like a Bristling Hydra, which they literally can't beat. and or a Glorybringer, which they can beat. I have set up a turn with both.
Yes.
We've
seen it.
Yeah, I won that game.
So, what we were talking about earlier, if Robert had Magma sprayed that Earthshaker Kenra,
this wouldn't be happening.
This would not have been happening. There would be no 4/4 for him to have to deal with currently. And right now he is chump blocking with a token as opposed to, just being on the aggressive with that Bristling Hydra.
Right, not having to deal with that Kenra.
So I couldn't tell what Zach has there. It looked as if he has another desert in his hand. Looks like a colorless card. So I think he's in a losing position currently. When you're main phasing, sacking deserts, and dealing 2 to your opponent, it feels as if you're far behind when they're at 9.
Oh, yeah, miles behind.
Yeah. So, 4, 8, 9. If Robert draws anything here, I mean, he's pretty much... Zach's got a turn.
Doing the math. We're in the tank.
Yep. Now, if I'm Robert here, I think I swing probably... Let's see, Zach's at 10. I think I'll swing the Long Tusk Cub. Obviously, you need the energy. And I would swing the Hydra, putting him down to 4, leaving that Whirl of Virtuoso back and being able to make a token.
Yep, I agree on both points. That is exactly the play I would make as well.
I don't know if anything kills me, but I want to be conservative. Check seal?
Yep. Comes to the correct conclusion.
Go to 4.
Gets his energy. We know Zach does not have anything in hand at this point.
Yeah. And really the only thing that Zach could have drawn that made this a game would have been like a Glorybringer or a Hazaret.
Hazaret, yeah.
And with Robert having 2 blockers back, it's not, there's nothing really he can draw.
Indeed. Yeah, he would, if it was a Hazaret here, he would actually be in a pretty decent position.
So it looks as if he had drawn like a Scavenger Grounds that last term, and Zach scoops him up.
Yep. All right. On to game 2, we'll see if Zach, being on the play, decides to stay with a smaller plan, or if he goes big.
Yep.
And so, while we've got a little bit of time here, the reason that I was trying to leverage those very poor opt puns is because one of my favorite cards in the history of this game, and I have been playing since Revised, so quite some time, one of my favorite cards in the history of this game was spoiled to be an Ixalan today, Opt. 1 blue, instant, scry 1, draw a card.
Draw a card. Instant speed, scry and draw.
Yep. And now, to the people who have not experienced that card, it probably seems a little innocuous.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you how good that card is. The fact that it's instant allows a deck to both hold up counter magic and if their opponent doesn't do anything, do something meaningful with the mana.
Yes.
And only 1 mana. Now, will that matter as compared to something like Anticipate?
That allows you to dig a card deeper.
Right.
Card selection over, being able to... Opt will get you 2 cards deep.
Right.
At the most.
Right.
Anticipate gets you 3 cards deep.
Right.
In a combo deck, in Standard, that's most likely a little bit more important as opposed to, say, Modern, where Opt, where its first go-around didn't have Snapcaster Mage.
Indeed.
And something like that in Modern.
Yeah.
A little bit more different implications, especially when it comes to... We were discussing the Jeskai Cincy combo deck earlier.
Yeah, a deck that actually... I think the only combo deck in Modern that truly benefits from Opt.
Yeah.
I don't think a deck like Gift Storm is looking for Opt to replace Slight or Serum Visions.
No.
Both of those cards see more cards.
Yes.
And in those decks, it's about sculpting hands.
Yes.
It's about making sure before you go off that you have certain components of the combo in your hand to be able to continue the storm chain, so on and so forth.
Why it plays something like Peer Through Depths as opposed to some of those other cards.
Indeed, indeed. However, something like Blue-White Control or a Delver of Secrets based tempo deck.
Yes.
Anything that is looking to hold up counter magic regularly throughout the game benefits tremendously from Opt.
Yes.
Tremendously. Like, I cannot... You people out there in internet land, you just wait till you get to play with this card. There's a reason that it has sat in Invasion and not been reprinted for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it going to make waves in Standard? That is yet to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, Anticipate it has been legal this whole time and largely unseen.
Yes.
That said, I think that Robin Dolar's win at the Grand Prix this past weekend with Blue-Black Control, based on the Scarab God, is a warning siren to the Standard format. I think that there is a distinct possibility that after rotation, the Scarab God is going to take over the format.
Absolutely.
And I think the deck that is going to benefit from the fact that the Scarab God is so good is also going to be on the market to play Opt.
Yes. Now, that deck does lose a heavy hitter in Grasp of Darkness.
Fair.
It does lose something very big with that, but the Scarab God being a 5/5 body for 5 mana that allows you to completely take over the mid to late game. Absolutely.
Right. And doesn't die to any kind of traditional... I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
No.
You know, it just comes back. I mean, I can even see a world where we're looking at cards... Now, importantly, Vraska's Contempt.
Yes.
Exiles.
Yes, absolutely.
Very, very important.
Yes.
However, notably also black.
It goes directly into that type of deck.
Exactly. Exactly. So, as far as the 2-mana removal goes, we do get Walk the Plank.
Yes.
Given the indication that there's going to be a tribal theme for the aggro decks in Standard going forward, Walk the Plank may not actually be that good.
No.
In a control deck. However, that said, I think Sam Black said it in his article on Star City Premium today. For the time being, it is very, very unlikely that any aggro deck is going to come along with enough tribal synergy to overtake Ramunap Red's place in the format as the aggro deck of choice.
No, and we actually saw, Lightning Strike it's getting the reprint as well.
Right.
So that fits perfectly in the deck. Replaces Incendiary Flow easily. Now, the only thing that Ramunap Rep, besides that being replaced, is it's losing Falcon Wrath Gorger.
Yeah, not a huge loss, I don't think.
No.
In fact, I can see a world where the bigger version of Ramunap Red becomes the standard main deck.
With Chandra and Glorybringer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looks as if Robert's taking a mulligan here. And Temur Energy is a deck that does mulligan aggressively.
And mulligans well.
Yes, very well. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you're playing 22 lands, you're playing 4 Attune with Aether, so you're able to keep a lot of hands with 1 land Attune,
right,
where a large portion of your deck contains green sources. So, and with that you have a lot of small creatures, say like Long Tusk Cub or the Servant of the Conduit. That second hand had no lands for Robert, so he's going down to 5.
And that, to me, has been one of the most appealing aspects of Temur Energy, and the big reason that I've stuck with it throughout the duration of this format.
Yes.
Is it's the consistency. That's what I'm looking for in a Magic deck.
Yeah.
The reason that I shy away from decks like Burn and Modern and those kinds of decks, why I wouldn't really be into playing something like Ramunap Red. I like having some level of consistency where the outcome of the game is far less determined by the order of the cards of, let's say the first 13 or 14 cards on the top of your deck.
Yeah. And to some point you have some sort of deck manipulation. Not to say that there is a ton in Standard currently, and there's not really in Temur Energy.
Well, Rogue Refiner.
Rogue Refiner is some sort of, allows you to churn through your deck a little bit.
Right.
Rogue Refiner might be my favorite card in the deck, just based on
yeah,
the
funny thing, probably at the tail end of Marvel, before the Cincy Open, before I decided to play Temur Energy myself, Robert and I were commentating one night, and we were talking about Temur Energy, and given my experience with Marvel, I kind of undersold the card because its role in that deck was far, far different.
Yes.
In fact, its role in that deck reminded me quite a bit of Squadron Hawk's role in post-ban Callblade.
Okay.
Post-ban.
Yeah. Okay.
Post-ban. Pre-ban, you were using Squadron Hawk to abuse Jason Mindsculptor.
Yeah,
Brainstorm.
absolutely.
But afterwards, it was just there as a roadblock to get you to your later, more powerful cards, or to be a value threat in the mirror.
Yeah.
And force your opponent to do something about it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where it's at right now currently. It is a value threat that, regardless of the stage of the game, it is good.
Right.
So it looks Robert went to 4 here.
Yeah.
And he kept a hand with Aether Hub, Botanical Sanctum, Magma Spray, and I believe it's a Harness Lightning. So if Zach kept, a threat light hand,
maybe we see a game.
Maybe we see some sort of game here.
Yeah.
Robert could draw.
I mean, a Servant of the Conduit's best possible right there.
Yeah.
Attune's not horrible.
No, it's not. And actually, if Robert's able to sequence something here where he does draw a Rogue Refiner and into, say, a Bristling Hydra,
yeah, then we're definitely in it.
Then there's definitely, some sort of game here. Grabbing a red source. I did see in one of the hands that he mulliganed, he did bring in the Radiant Flames.
Okay.
Now I'm wondering if he thought in these post-board games, because they tend to be a little bit grindy and you want to take on a control role. I tend to bring in Tireless Tracker. It's very good in like a game where you're attritioning back and forth, and it's just a body that outgrows your opponent's creatures.
Sure. And the removal.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the game gets down to the point that Hazaret comes down, it's one of those things where you're going to be trading your resources for blockers as blockers.
Right. So I think that's an interesting point, bringing in Tracker on the draw against a deck like Ramunap Red. It's clear that Zach has stayed with the low to the ground plan here, being on the play.
Yeah.
I have to say that personally, that's not a move that I would make.
Yeah.
If I'm expecting them to stay on the low to the ground plan.
Yeah. I don't think that Robert really knew what kind of plan he was going for. He was just kind of bringing in a lot of removal, because I believe he brought in another Magma Spray, which obviously you're going to do on the draw. The Village Messenger, I believe, was supposed to flip this turn. Robert played a land and passed after Zach had played that.
Well, that's his trigger to miss, though.
Yes.
That is...
Yes.
So...
And exactly what we talked about is what's about to happen. Robert has a Mountain and a Bristling Hydra in hand. So there is a semblance of a game here. Zach with a Shock and what appears to be a Scavenger Grounds in his hand. So he's going to have a really hard time with that Hydra.
And Robert drew a Rogue Refiner.
Yep. So the deck does what it does. It filters through itself. It hits its land drops, and
and going back to that point about the consistency of Temur Energy, that is one of the main reasons that I've been such a big proponent of Champion of Wits in the deck.
Yeah.
Literally nobody else is playing it, so I'm probably wrong. But I do have to say, I lost my first match against Blue Base Control this past Friday. in all of the weeks that I've been playing Temur Energy from the Open on. The very first match to Blue Base Control I lost, and a lot of that is on the back of the Eternalize of Champion of Wits.
Or was it a blue-black based deck?
So it was Grixis.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so it plays a lot differently than the other blue base control decks in the format. It's more of a tap out style control deck.
Less counter magic.
Yeah. Supreme Will I think was the only one that I saw, and he resolved Scarab God and destroyed me with it. My negates
did nothing.
Yeah, don't counter the Scarab God.
Yeah. Was he playing Nico Bolas?
He was, but he sided it out.
Okay. Yeah. Correct.
He died game 1 with it in his hand.
Yeah.
And I didn't see much of what he had going on in game 1, and so I sideboarded as I would against every other blue base control deck that I've played against and beaten. And he just dismantled me in the sideboarding games. My sideboard plan did literally nothing, and of course going into game 3 after losing to the Scarab God, I'm going, what do I have?
Confiscation coup, and that's about it.
Right. And so I did bring those in, didn't see one.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Yep. And that is why the blue-black base control deck tends to be an issue.
Right.
As the Scarab God, you know, they remove threat after threat, and then there's a Scarab God staring you in the face. And Elvish Mystic. Oh, and Robert has a 5th land, and now he has a Glory Bringer in his hand.
Oh, yeah. We got a game. We've got a game. Zach's sitting over there with a Shock and a Scavenging Grounds in his hand, I think?
Yes.
Shock's the Rogue Refiner. Clearing the way for the
2/2 Menace.
Right. Is it flipped? I can't even tell.
It is flipped.
Okay.
And now he has an Earthshaker Kenra. Robert doing the correct thing here.
Yeah, but if he blocks the Kenra, he loses his Hydra, and he can't. He still can't block.
I mean, I think he trades here.
Yeah.
He takes 2, and then he's going to play that Glory Bringer and
untap and Glory
then
Bringer.
Zach's stuck with
nothing.
No, he has a Shock in his hand. So
nothing.
Yeah, and with and with no Ramunap Ruins out on the field,
right.
Zach's staring at a 4/4 flyer that's going to continue to take out his.
Now, to be fair, he has a lot of really good top decks right here. That was not one of them.
Oh, okay.
He drew a mountain.
Yeah, I'm being told he has a Hostile Desert.
That looks like a Sunscorched and a Scavenging Grounds.
That looks like a that's what I. Looked as if it was a Scavenger Ground. Zach again plays a mountain, has a Shock in his hand.
What do we have?
Robert having
another Attune.
An Attune.
See, and that is why I play Champion of Wits in my version. To get past those.
Yeah.
My argument has been the entire time that Temur Energy is a mid-range deck with some very poor draws going long, and Champion of Wits allows you to get to the powerful cards that matter in whichever matchup.
Yeah, and
trigger on the stack. So this trigger on the stack.
So with the trigger on the stack, it appears as if Robert's going to respond, maybe kill that Bomat Courier, so Zach's not able to draw a card off of it.
That card still want to be exiled. I'm pretty sure, so I want to destroy target artifact. Yeah, it will still be exiled. Yeah.
So the card will remain exiled. Yep.
There we go.
Yep. There we go.
And am I remembering correctly, did Robert malt 4?
Robert mulled to 4 this game.
Wow.
Yes.
You? 4.
No. Any Hazaret or anything like that off the top for Zach will end this game. Even a Chandra will pretty much. Okay, there's a Collective Defiance that'll between the two that'll deal Robert 5, I believe, but it'll also kill that Glory Bringer.
Indeed, it will. That was one of those top decks that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Just fire it off. Why are we?
I think he's thinking whether to pitch his Shock to see if he can grab a threat.
Pitch it to what? Oh, that whole
with
thing.
with all three
yeah,
modes.
that whole
yeah.
thing.
Which I think.
Yeah, actually, in hindsight, I think that would have been the correct choice.
Yeah, the shock.
That's the hidden third mode on
Yeah,
Collective Defiance.
is you Wheel of Fortune.
Right.
Kind of. Well, you're not going to draw 7 cards, but. So Robert's down to 1. Zach playing off the top of his deck, and Robert drawing in a tune. Any type of
anything
that ends the game. Exactly.
Well, you know, that was a heck of a lot more of a game than you would expect on a Multi 4. You know, and I gotta say, it's very likely we don't see stuff like that as often were it not for this scry rule. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, little changes like that. See, I'm a big fan of the mechanic scry. I think any mechanic in this game that can remove a reasonable amount of variance is good.
Yeah.
Particularly when the removal of the variance involves a decision on the part of the player.
Yes.
Me personally, right? if I were working at Wizards of the Coast and designing cards, not developing, you know, development works with cards that are already pretty much made.
Yeah.
If I were designing cards, and I know that we're going back to a model that's going to involve a core set every year now. I think that it would be a great opportunity to put cards in the core set, kind of like the old philosophy was that should form the pillars of Standard. I think that cards like Duress, very important safety valve to have around. Negate, very important safety valve to have around. You know, those kinds of cards that we don't have to worry about. Is it going to be printed in the next expansion set? Is it not? That sort of thing. But what I would do is I would ensure that each color had a standard playable card that scried 2. Some kind of effect relevant to the color, and scry 2.
So when I'm thinking of past core sets, and I'm thinking of the last 3, I'm thinking of Titans, obviously. That did become pillars of the format.
Right.
I'm thinking of Rampant Growth. I'm thinking of say Scry 2. Scry 2, I'm thinking of 4C. 4C was a card that was a 4-drop.
Yeah.
Scry 2, and then what would they draw 2 cards?
I think it was Scry 2, draw 2. Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah. Which Glimmer of Genius is just a better version.
Yes.
You know, I mean, only because energy is currently a thing.
Yes.
You know, but past that point, and very often the decks that play Glimmer of Genius don't necessarily take advantage of the energy that they're generating. So
the blue-white control deck being a great example of
that. The approach, the approach deck, certainly. So in that context, 4C is certainly a standard playable card.
It's something that could be a pillar.
Indeed, and so that way you're always going to have certain things that will be present in Standard, and you can design around the existence of those things. For me, something like Titans.
Yeah,
we don't right.
Little much.
Yeah, that was a bit much.
Or Lightning Bolt.
Sure. You know, I think maybe Magma Spray. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Magma Jet.
Magma Jet being Scry 2, deal 2 damage, instant
right.
speed, yes.
Yeah, maybe something like 4C. Who knows for green and white. Yeah, I don't even know. Those colors suck. Except for Attune with Aether. And Long Tusk Cub and Servant of the Conduit.
Yeah.
But, along those lines. And then that way, the whole play design group, all of those guys who are working now, guys and girls who are working now to ensure that what we've seen in Standard for the past year and a half, 2 years, never happens again.
Yeah.
Will at least know that, hey, this core of cards, thus core set, will always be present in standard, and we can guarantee that the experience can remain at least somewhat consistent year to year because of the existence of those cards year to year.
Yep.
And that was the original intention of the core sets.
Yes.
However, they still didn't know what they were doing back then.
No. and we definitely saw that when, as I mentioned earlier, the Titans.
Right. I mean, I'm talking all the way back to 4th edition.
Oh, okay.
Because the Counterspell.
Yeah.
Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Swords
to Plowshares.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Those kinds of cards were around, and
they were pillars.
Indeed, they were, and now they're pillars of powered formats.
Exactly.
So that's got to tell you something.
Yes.
But I think when we're living in a world where Foresee, it is legitimately a standard playable card.
Yeah.
Cards along those lines. It's safe, I think, to return to that philosophy.
Yes.
Because Magic is far older. The designers are far better informed now. The safety valves, both development and play experience group, are there to ensure, consistency and level. A reasonable level. And so that kind of philosophy could work again.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't see. Well, we haven't had a standard in a while with the deck just completely being the only deck being able to be played.
Well, Marvel.
Marvel was a deck that, yes, it was a little bit.
A little bit.
It was annoying.
I think that's being generous.
I'm being very nice here when I'm saying it was just annoying.
It was an actual pulsating black tumor.
Yes.
On the lungs of standard. That's how annoying it was.
When I think of standard formats being completely dominated by a deck, I think of the Claw Blade era and the Twin Blade era.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about that before.
Oh
but
yeah.
In my opinion, Marvel approached that.
It was getting to the point where, especially with this, the release of this newest set, we were seeing like some of the disgusting things that the deck was doing, and it was going to be a deck that, unless you dedicated 8 sideboard cards to that matchup, you were not going to be able to beat the matchup.
Well, I mean, and even then, they could just resolve an Aetherworks Marvel and Ulamog your face.
Exactly. Yeah. On turn 3, which was, kind of a consistent thing that the deck did.
So, I mean, it definitely did start to approach that.
And it looks as if Robert has gone with the standard turn 2 removal spell, turn 3 Whirl of Virtuoso, turn 4 Bristling Hydra. Zach playing a Hazoret on turn 4, still has 4 cards in hand, excuse me. And so that's just kind of it's just a nice card that's sitting on the table right now, not doing anything.
Look at my mythic.
Yeah.
Look at my 4-mana do-nothing mythic.
Now, Robert...
But she's going to do something.
Yeah, no, eventually, yes.
And I think I would have gotten in with that Hydra.
I think I would have gotten in with all 3. Robert has 2 lands and a removal spell in his hand, and it's in a braid, so... Yeah,
not going to be killing that Glorybringer.
No. And this is the type of game against Mono Red where you just need to end the game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, Robert definitely should have been more aggressive on that last turn.
The games where you're on the play with the deck, you need to be more aggressive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it... Okay.
So...
Yeah, so he made a Thopter.
Okay, blocked and then abraded it.
Right.
After damage.
Did he not spend energy to make the...
I think he should be at 0 energy.
Yeah, he should be at 0 energy. Yeah, there we go.
He drew a Sheltered Thicket for his turn.
We just got to be getting in with that Hydra.
Yeah.
That Hazoret may be irrelevant now.
Yes.
She's not going to be for the entire game.
No. And it looks as if Zach has a Chandra in his hand as well. So, I'm seeing a turn coming up where Zach's going to play land, and the Chandra, tick her up, pitch a card, and Robert's going to be in a world of hurt.
It's all happening right now.
Yes.
All of those things are happening. And Zach should legitimately be at 8 life.
Yes, yes. And then say Robert draws a Glory Bringer. Then the game quickly turns in his favor. But
now, in Robert's defense, I have to say that I have been punished on multiple occasions throughout the years for taking the more conservative line. And when you're not familiar with a deck,
you tend to take the more conservative line.
Indeed. So, while we did put him on camera to make fun of him, I can understand the causation of this behavior.
Yeah. And Ramunap Red is a deck where you look at it from the outside and you go, how can I just die out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And that is a legitimate concern.
Yeah, well, Zach is about to show us.
Robert drawing another Abrade, it looks like, when he cycled that Sheltered Thicket.
Yep, Zach is about to demonstrate exactly how Ramunap Red can just kill you out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And he has what appears to be a Scavenger Grounds on his hand. I would just tick up that Chandra, pitch it. Or he could just kill that Bristling Hydra, it looks like. Robert has 1 energy.
Yeah. Well, okay, so then we lose our Chandra possibly on the swing back with that Thopter. Of course, if we're getting in for like an actual billion damage, that Thopter's probably going to stay on D.
So if you kill that Bristling Hydra, you're getting in for 7. You're putting Robert down to 8.
Yeah.
You're very close to just a couple upticks away. Plus, he's got a Ramunap Ruins and 3 deserts on the field. It just, it's not looking too good for Robert here. And then he kills that Kenra.
And it just comes back next turn.
It comes back.
Yep.
Makes it so nothing can really block.
Yep. Now, I don't know how different this game is if Robert gets in with that Hydra twice, like we were saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because...
Well, now it's a different game if he, if he had drawn that Ronus and he still had that Hydra out on the field.
So let's see. Okay, so the most he could get in for this turn, though, would be 5, 7.
But
so Zach would be at 1.
Yeah, but the Ronus actually blocks the Hydra.
Yeah, it would be blocking.
It blocks the Hazoret really well. And Zach taking a look at it here, most likely going to realize that Robert's not going to be able to do anything with it. He has no cards in hand. He can only pump that Thopter up to a 3/1.
Yep. Should be match.
Yeah, Zach's
Game,
just gonna
set, and match.
Yeah, reanimate that Kenra and play a land and get in there.
I don't know. Looks like Zach might be enjoying his camera time a little bit.
As us Zachs tend to do.
Well, I mean, for you enjoy your camera time so much because you're generally winning when you're on camera. I have been on the receiving end of that well, on a couple of occasions where you made me look silly. Literally silly.
I don't believe that was my intent, so I do apologize.
No, not like that. Not like that. But you were just like, hey, I got these lightning bolts. And I was like, I was playing this Death Shadow deck like you didn't have lightning bolt. Twice.
And that was my fault.
All right, so here we go. Yep. Packs him up. That's game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think no matter how you drew that up, I think Zach was giving Robert another turn, but Robert's scooping him up anyways.
Well, there's literally nothing he could draw to get him out of that being at 1 life. He dies to that Hazoret activation the next turn.
He dies.
No matter what.
Yep.
I mean, like maybe if he somehow magically added a Nimble Obstructionist, he could cycle that and buy himself 1 turn.
Well, considering that's my deck, if he did that, we're going to have words after this.
All right, so that'll do it for round 1 of the 3 commentated rounds tonight.
Yes.
We will be back soon with some more hot, fresh standard action.
The freshest.
Thanks for hanging out, folks.